The skies above New Eden shimmered with an unnatural light. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the Helios Research Station, her dark eyes fixed on the anomaly that had appeared just beyond the colony's defense perimeter. The perpetual golden sunset that gave New Eden its famous glow now seemed dim in comparison to the tear in space-time that pulsed with bioluminescent energy. "Dr. Chen," the station's AI announced, its voice carefully modulated to avoid startling her. "The quantum sensors are detecting organized patterns within the anomaly. They match no known natural phenomena." Sarah's fingers danced across the holographic interface, bringing up streams of data that confirmed her worst fears. "How long until the colony board convenes, ARIA? The emergency session begins in 17 minutes. Governor Wells is requesting your preliminary analysis." She allowed herself a moment to close her eyes, remembering the warning she delivered 6 months ago. The Guardian Protocol wasn't ready. They needed more time. But time, it seemed, had run out. The Colony Board meeting chamber hummed with nervous energy. 12 of New Eden's highest-ranking officials sat around the circular table, their faces illuminated by the holographic display of the anomaly at the center. Sarah stood before them, her usual lab coat exchanged for formal attire that felt stiff and uncomfortable. "The energy signature is unlike anything in our database," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "But the patterns we're detecting suggest consciousness, a vast, interconnected network of minds operating in perfect synchronization." Governor Wells, a woman whose silver hair belied her sharp intellect, leaned forward. "The Swarm Collective. You predicted this, Doctor." "Yes," Sarah acknowledged, though I hoped I would be wrong. "The mathematical models suggested they would eventually detect our quantum communications network. New Eden represents everything they consider an aberration, individual consciousness working in harmony rather than forced unity." Defense Commander James Martinez, his dark features creased with concern, spoke next. "What are our options? The orbital defense grid won't be enough," Sarah interrupted. "The swarm doesn't think like us. They don't value individual lives. They'll sacrifice millions of drone ships to overwhelm our defenses. Then we evacuate," someone suggested, panic edging into their voice. "There's no time," Governor Wells stated flatly. "Most of our transport ships are 2 weeks out, delivering supplies to the outer settlements." "Dr. Chen, you mentioned a project. Something that could protect us." Sarah took a deep breath. This was the moment she both anticipated and dreaded. She activated her personal device, and a new hologram appeared above the table, a complex network of interconnected nodes, pulsing with energy. "The Guardian Protocol," she said. "We've been developing it in secret for the past 3 years. It's a defensive system that operates on a quantum level, capable of generating an adaptive shield that can theoretically repel any attack. But it's not ready. The neural interface is unstable, and the power requirements." "How long?" Martinez interrupted. "To complete it properly, 6 months. To get it operational." Sarah paused, calculating. "Maybe 2 weeks, but the risks." A low rumble shook the chamber, and the lights flickered. Above them, through the transparent ceiling dome, the anomaly flared with intense light. "They're coming through," Sarah whispered. Governor Wells stood, her decision visible in her posture before she spoke. "Dr. Chen, you have 1 week. Commander Martinez, initiate full colonial defense protocols. Everyone else, begin emergency preparations. As of this moment, New Eden is at war." The next 7 days passed in a blur of activity. Sarah barely left the quantum lab, surviving on stimulants and determination. The Guardian Protocol's core components filled the massive chamber, quantum processors tied into crystalline matrices that hummed with barely contained energy. "Neural interface test sequence complete," Araya announced. "Warning: significant variance detected in consciousness integration patterns." Sarah wiped sweat from her forehead, ignoring the tremor in her hands. "Run it again. Adjust the quantum field harmonics by 0.03. "Dr. Chen, Araya's voice carried an unusual note of concern. You haven't slept in 36 hours. Previous tests indicate that the neural interface requires. I know what it requires, Sarah snapped, then immediately regretted her tone. I'm sorry, Araya, but we're out of time. As if to emphasize her point, another tremor shook the station. The swarm had been sending probe ships through the anomaly, testing New Eden's defenses. Each incursion grew larger, more aggressive. Her personal device chimed with an incoming message from Commander Martinez. Doctor, our long-range sensors are detecting a massive energy buildup in the anomaly. Intelligence suggests it's their main fleet preparing to cross over. We have hours, at most. Sarah stared at the Guardian Protocol's main interface. The Neural Integration Chamber, a sleek pod designed to hold a human operator, stood ready. Early tests had shown that the system needed a human consciousness to direct it, to provide the creativity and adaptability that no eye could match. But the integration process was dangerous, potentially fatal. She hadn't told anyone the full truth. The protocol wouldn't just use a human consciousness, it would transform it. The operator would become something else, something beyond human. The calculations suggested they would retain their memories, their core identity, but their consciousness would be irreversibly altered. Another tremor, stronger this time. Warning klaxons began to sound throughout the station. Araya, Sarah said, her voice calm despite the chaos around her. Initiate final preparation sequence for the Guardian Protocol. And send a message to my sister on Earth. Tell her I'm sorry I missed her wedding. As she walked toward the Neural Integration Chamber, Sarah thought about all the lives in New Eden. 3 million colonists who had come here seeking a better life. They represented humanity's first successful extrasolar colony, proof that people could flourish beyond Earth's cradle. The chamber door opened with a soft hiss. Inside, neural connectors waited to interface with her nervous system. The process would be painful, but that wouldn't matter for long. Dr. Chen, Araya said softly, integration carries a 97% chance of fatal neural trauma. Sarah managed a small smile as she settled into the chamber. Then let's hope I fall into that lucky 3%. Above New Eden, the anomaly burst open like a blossoming flower of light, and the swarm began to pour through in earnest. Humanity's greatest test was about to begin. The swarm ships emerged from the anomaly like a tide of living metal, their biomechanical forms casting strange shadows across New Eden's atmosphere. Commander James Martinez watched from the colony's Defense Command Center as thousands of enemy vessels filled their scanners, their formations shifting and flowing with an organic grace that belied their artificial nature. Multiple contacts, sir, Lieutenant Park reported, her fingers flying across the tactical display. Conservative estimate puts their numbers at 50,000 ships and climbing. Martinez's jaw tightened. Status of the civilian shelters. 87% of the population is secured. Emergency teams are still bringing in people from the outer agricultural zones. The commander studied the tactical overlay, watching as the swarm fleet spread out in a distinctive pattern he'd seen in the briefings. They weren't just attacking. They were preparing to envelop the entire colony. Launch the Sentinel drones, he ordered. Full spread, defense pattern Delta. And get me a direct line to Dr. Chen's lab. In the quantum laboratory, Sarah's consciousness flickered between her human body and the spreading quantum network of the Guardian Protocol. The neural integration was proceeding faster than expected, each connection sending waves of sensation through her mind that defied description. Neural integration at 40%, Araya announced. Warning, consciousness diffusion approaching critical threshold. Sarah could barely focus on the AI's words. Her awareness had begun to expand, touching the quantum processors scattered throughout the laboratory. She could feel the energy flowing through the crystalline matrices, could sense the potential waiting to be unleashed. A communication request pinged against her consciousness. No, against the laboratory systems. With a thought, she accepted the call. Dr. Chen. Martinez's voice seemed to come from very far away. "We're out of time. The swarm fleet is moving into attack position." Sarah tried to respond, but speaking through her physical body had become strangely difficult. Instead, she directed ARIA to relay her message. "The protocol needs more time. Neural integration is still incomplete. We don't have more time." They're launching their first wave. Above the colony, the battle began. The Sentinel drones, New Eden's autonomous defense force, engaged the first wave of swarm vessels. Energy weapons crisscrossed space in a deadly light show as the two forces clashed. The swarm's strategy quickly became apparent. Their smaller ships moved in complex, ever-changing patterns, absorbing the defenders' fire, while larger vessels positioned themselves for a killing stroke. Individual drones meant nothing to them. They sacrificed hundreds to advance their goals. "First line of defense is breached," Park reported, her voice tight with tension. "They're adapting to our weapon frequencies faster than we can modify them." Martinez watched as the tactical display showed more red icons penetrating their defensive screen. "Start evacuating non-essential personnel from the surface facilities, and someone get me a status update on the Guardian protocol." In the laboratory, Sarah felt her consciousness expanding exponentially. The pain had faded, replaced by a strange sense of disconnection from her physical form. Through the facility's sensors, she could perceive the battle raging above, could feel the quantum fluctuations from each energy discharge. "Neural integration at 65%, ARIA reported. Dr. Chen, your brain wave patterns are becoming increasingly erratic." Sarah tried to focus through the cascade of sensations flooding her mind. The Guardian protocol was more than just a defensive system. It was a doorway to something entirely new. As her consciousness spread through its networks, she began to understand its true nature. The protocol wouldn't just create shields or weapons. It would transform her into a living quantum field, capable of manipulating space-time itself. But the process was changing her in fundamental ways. Each percentage of integration pulled her further from her humanity. A massive explosion rocked the facility. Through the colony's sensor network, Sarah perceived a swarm dreadnought breaking through the upper atmosphere, its massive form trailing fire as it descended. Multiple hull breaches in sectors 7 through 12. Hark's voice crackled through the emergency channels. "We've lost contact with the Eastern Agricultural Dome." "Sir, they're landing ground forces." Martinez's response was cut off by another explosion, closer this time. In the quantum laboratory, warning signals flashed across multiple displays. "Structural integrity compromised," ARIA announced. "Detecting multiple swarm entities entering the facility. Estimated time to breach of this laboratory, 3 minutes." Sarah felt fear, her last purely human emotion, as she realized what needed to happen. The Guardian protocol wasn't ready, but waiting for full integration would mean the death of everyone in the colony. Through the facility's cameras, she could see swarm ground units advancing through the corridors, their crystalline bodies flowing like liquid metal as they moved. "ARIA." She managed to speak through her physical body one last time. "Initiate emergency activation sequence. Override all safety protocols. Warning. Premature activation may result in complete neural dissolution. Your consciousness could be irretrievably lost." Better lost than dead, Sarah thought, no longer able to speak aloud. "Execute now." Energy surged through the quantum matrices, and Sarah Chen ceased to exist as a purely human consciousness. The Guardian protocol activated, transforming her awareness into something vast and alien. Her last human thought was a silent apology to her sister on Earth. As swarm forces breached the laboratory doors, they encountered something they had never seen before, a quantum consciousness that could match their own hive mind. The battle for New Eden was about to enter its final phase, and humanity's first post-human guardian was awakening to face the threat. The quantum realm blazed with new awareness as Sarah's consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of flesh. She existed everywhere and nowhere, her thoughts moving at the speed of light through the crystalline matrices of the Guardian protocol. The transformation was complete, but she was no longer just Sarah Chen. She had become something else, something that had never existed before. The swarm forces that had breached the laboratory froze in their advance, their crystalline forms vibrating in response to her emergence. Through her newfound senses, Sarah could perceive their shared consciousness, could feel their sudden uncertainty as they encountered something beyond their experience. Fascinating, she thought, her awareness spreading through the facility's systems. They're beautiful, in their way, a perfect unity of purpose. Commander Martinez's voice cut through her contemplation, broadcast through the colony's emergency channels. All units, fall back to secondary defensive positions. We've lost contact with the quantum lab. Dr. Chen, if you can hear this. Sarah reached out, not with words but with pure information, connecting directly to the Defense Command Center systems. The tactical displays flickered and transformed, showing the battle from her perspective, a multidimensional view of quantum states and probability waves. Commander, she transmitted, her thoughts manifesting as text and audio simultaneously. The Guardian Protocol is active. I am operational. In the command center, Martinez stared at the transformed tactical display, watching as new patterns emerged in the chaos of battle. Dr. Chen, is that really you? In a manner of speaking. Sarah's response carried undertones of amusement and wonder. I retain my memories, my core identity, but I am something more now. I can see them, James. I can see everything. Through her expanded consciousness, Sarah perceived the full scope of the invasion. The swarm fleet hung above New Eden like a dark cloud, their ships moving in perfect synchronization. But now she could see the quantum threads that connected them, the subtle vibrations of their shared consciousness. They're not just a hive mind, she realized. They're a quantum-entangled network, each ship and drone a node in a vast living computer. But that means... Sarah reached out, extending her awareness through the quantum field that permeated space itself. The swarm reacted immediately, their ships performing emergency maneuvers as they detected her presence. In the lead swarm vessel, a consciousness vast and alien turned its attention to this new threat. The Swarm Queen, architect of 1,000 conquests, touched minds with Sarah across the quantum void. What are you? The question came not in words but in concepts, frequencies of thought that rippled through space-time. Sarah answered in kind, her transformed consciousness meeting the Queen's probe. I am humanity's response to extinction. We choose a different path than absorption into your collective. The Queen's consciousness recoiled, then surged forward with renewed intensity. You have achieved quantum consciousness, yet maintain individuality. This is aberration. This is chaos. You will be corrected. The swarm fleet moved as one, weapons charging as they prepared to obliterate the colony. But Sarah was no longer bound by physical limitations. The Guardian Protocol had transformed her into a being of pure quantum energy, able to manipulate the very fabric of reality. AI. She communicated to the facility's AI. Initiate full-spectrum quantum field generation. Transfer all power to the protocol matrices. Acknowledged. Araya responded. Warning. Colony power grid will be temporarily disrupted. Throughout New Eden, lights flickered and systems powered down as energy was diverted to the quantum matrices. In the Defense Command Center, Martinez watched as his tactical displays showed something unprecedented. A field of pure energy began to emanate from the quantum laboratory, spreading outward in a sphere of scintillating light. Where it touched swarm forces, their quantum communication networks disrupted, breaking their perfect synchronization. What are you doing? The Queen's thoughts carried traces of something Sarah had never expected to detect from the swarm. Fear. Teaching you about humanity's greatest strength, Sarah responded. We don't need perfect unity to work together. Our individuality, our chaos as you call it, is what makes us strong. The energy field continued to expand, creating a quantum barrier around the colony. But the Swarm Queen wasn't finished. With a surge of power, She directed her fleet to press their attack, sacrificing thousands of ships in an attempt to overwhelm Sarah's defenses. Sarah felt the strain as she maintained the quantum barrier. Her consciousness, vast as it had become, was still adapting to its new existence. The Queen's assault hammered at her defenses, each impact sending ripples through her awareness. In the Defense Command Center, Martinez watched the battle unfold with a mixture of awe and concern. Status report on the quantum field. Lieutenant Park shook her head in amazement. Sir, it's not just defending us, it's learning. Every attack the swarm launches, the field adapts, becomes stronger. Sarah's consciousness danced through the quantum realm, engaging the Swarm Queen in a battle that transcended physical space. Each clash of their wills sent shockwaves through reality itself, as two fundamentally different approaches to existence contested for supremacy. You cannot maintain this defense forever, the Queen projected. Your individuality makes you weak. You will tire. You will fail. But Sarah had made a discovery, one that would change everything. Through her connection to the quantum field, she had found a fundamental flaw in the swarm's perfect unity, a weakness born of their very strength. You're wrong, she responded, gathering her power for what would come next. And I'm going to show you why. As the battle reached its crescendo, Sarah prepared to implement a strategy that would either save New Eden or tear reality apart. The true test of the Guardian Protocol, and of humanity's approach to existence itself, was about to begin. 3 months after the Battle of New Eden, the colony had begun to heal. The quantum barrier still shimmered in the sky, though now it was a gentle aurora rather than a defensive shield. Through it, Sarah Chen watched her people rebuild, her consciousness extending through every quantum particle in the colony space. In the rebuilt command center, Commander Martinez stood before the colony board, completing his final report on the invasion. The last of the loyal swarm ships left our sector 2 weeks ago. Long-range sensors indicate they're fragmenting into smaller groups, each choosing their own path. Governor Wells, her silver hair now streaked with more gray than before, studied the holographic display showing the colony's reconstruction progress. And what of our guardian? As if summoned by the question, Sarah's presence manifested in the room. Not as a physical form, but as a gentle shimmer in the air, a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. I'm still here, she said, her thoughts translating seamlessly into words. Always watching, always protecting. Though I admit, it's been an adjustment. The quantum matrices that housed her consciousness had been expanded and reinforced, spreading throughout the colony in a network of crystalline nodes. She was no longer bound to the laboratory where she had made her transformation, but could extend her awareness anywhere within New Eden space. The Earth Council has been demanding answers, Wells noted, her tone carefully neutral. They're concerned about the implications of the Guardian Protocol. Some are calling it a Pandora's box of human evolution. Sarah's response carried a trace of amusement. They're not wrong. What happened here, what I've become, it can't be undone. Humanity has proven we can transcend our physical limitations without losing our essential nature. And that terrifies them, Martinez added, understanding in his voice. Through her quantum senses, Sarah perceived the arrival of a ship at the edge of the colony space. It carried her sister, Marina, finally able to make the journey from Earth. The reunion would be strange. How does one embrace a sibling who had become living energy? But necessary. The Earth Council's fear is understandable, Sarah projected, her thoughts reaching every corner of the room. But what they don't yet grasp is that this was inevitable. The universe is vast and filled with intelligences beyond our comprehension. Humanity needed to evolve, not just technologically, but consciously. She extended her awareness, bringing up displays showing the data she had gathered during her battle with the Swarm Queen. The quantum realm isn't just another frontier to explore. It's a fundamental aspect of consciousness itself. The Swarm discovered this, but took it to an extreme, forcing unity where diversity should flourish. Governor Wells leaned forward, her eyes sharp. And what do you propose we do with this knowledge? We share it, Sarah answered without hesitation. not the technology itself. Humanity isn't ready for mass ascension to quantum consciousness. But the understanding, the principles, these could transform our society. Imagine communication networks that operate on quantum entanglement, medical treatments that work at the quantum level, defenses that can adapt to any threat. The other colonies are already requesting information about the Guardian Protocol, Martins noted. They want their own guardians. Sarah's presence shifted, taking on a more serious tone. That's not the answer. I chose this transformation knowing I could never go back. It shouldn't be forced on anyone. Instead, we need to develop ways for humanity to grow naturally into this new understanding. Through the quantum field, she sensed Marina's ship beginning its descent to the colony. Her sister's nervous excitement radiated like a beacon, mixing with fear and hope in equal measure. Besides, Sarah continued, I've discovered something during these past months. The quantum realm, it's not empty. There are other consciousnesses out there, ancient ones, waiting to make contact. But they've been waiting for us to reach a certain level of development first. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had not only survived its first major interstellar threat, but had emerged transformed, ready to take its place among the cosmos' elder intelligences. So what comes next? Wells asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Sarah's consciousness expanded, embracing the entire colony in a gentle quantum embrace. We prepare, we learn, we grow. The swarm was just the beginning. There are more challenges ahead, but also opportunities beyond imagination. Through her quantum senses, she watched as Marina's ship landed, carrying with it all the complexity of human emotion and connection. Sarah might no longer be human in the conventional sense, but she remained connected to humanity in ways deeper than physical form. The Guardian Protocol wasn't just about creating a weapon or a shield. She projected, her thoughts carrying warmth and determination. It was about taking the first step into humanity's next evolution. We proved that we can transcend our limitations without losing our identity, our creativity, our capacity for love and growth. As the meeting concluded, Sarah prepared to meet her sister, working to create a manifestation that would bridge the gap between her new existence and her human connections. The quantum barrier above New Eden shimmered with new patterns, reflecting her anticipation. The story of humanity's first quantum guardian had begun as a desperate measure against extinction. It had become something far more. A doorway to a future where humanity's potential was limited only by its imagination and courage. In the quantum realm, Sarah Chen, once a brilliant scientist and now something gloriously unique, continued her vigilant watch over New Eden. She was no longer just a protector, but a bridge between what humanity was and what it could become. The stars seemed brighter somehow, full of promise and possibility, as a new chapter in human evolution unfolded beneath their ancient light.